There we go. So, welcome everybody to another episode of Keeping Up with Conspicuous. It is just myself today with no co-host Tyler, and we are joined by the lovely Alfredo. Now, we do apologise, we are slightly late, some technical issues. It's tech, of course, we're going to encounter them. But lovely to have you on, Alfredo. How are you?
I'm very well, Lucy. Thanks for having me. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been a busy morning, but it's been good, so can't complain. But yeah, I mean, obviously, for people that don't know you, I know we'll have a few people on here that definitely do, but for those that don't, tell us a little bit about yourself and a bit about your background.
Of course, no problem at all. So my background, I started working in Microsoft Enterprise Technology about 10 years ago. But before that, I used to be in supply chain management. So I started with logistics. And in fact, not many people know that a few years ago, one of my first jobs was actually being a van driver. And so, and I'm telling you, Lucy, I'm very proud of that very humble job that I started doing in my late 20s, because that really gave me an insight about the complexity with transportation and deliveries and logistics. And of course, after that, I got promoted. So no longer have long hours driving, but working in a warehouse, picking boxes. So at that stage, again, we're talking about my mid-20s, that was a sort of a promotion, because no longer stuck in the traffic, no problem with rains, right? Rain or bad weather. I was inside moving boxes, and it was great. And so, of course, it was a humble, start. But I really got into logistics and transportations also, as a son of a truck driver. Right? You can imagine that was my world. So from there to logistics, supply chain management consultant. I moved to the UK about 11 years ago, and started working as a freelance consultant, supply chain for companies in food and bev. And then about 10 years ago, I got the opportunity to work on a new business central implementation. At that time, it was NIV, for a food company. I didn't really know much about technology. Unlike most of my consulting colleagues, I don't have a background in software engineering. But because of my background in supply chain management and transportation, a bit of project management, and passion for technology, as you might call it, I managed to get that, the first project. And since then, project after project, here I am.
Wow, that is I like that little story. I mean, I must admit, we've spoken a few times, but I never knew how you started out. So that's always good. And what is it that you're currently doing at the moment?
So at the moment, I'm busy on two sides, right? I'm still a business central consultant. That's my, my main job and main passion, I should say. And I work for a Microsoft partner, very reputable Microsoft partner, and we work on very exciting projects across Europe, typically like medium to large implementations. But I also work as a trainer. And I'm very active on social media and LinkedIn as a Microsoft certified trainer. I got my certification last year, and essentially work with users and consultants, and I help them acquiring knowledge about business applications, mainly Business Central. But I will start covering things like CE, customer engagement, supply chain.
Alfredo. Oops. Sorry, your headphones just randomly cut out then.
Oh, really? Okay. Tech issues.
No, I think all good now. All good. So obviously you were saying that you were going on to like CE and FNO as well.
Yes.
So I'm actually quite intrigued, because I don't know the process for it. But what was the process to becoming a Microsoft trainer?
Oh, that's quite that's a very interesting journey. So Microsoft allows you to become a trainer if you meet certain characteristics. And so one company work with Microsoft, they can certify so that you comply with the standards and such training. So I spent some time with the staff custom with these partners, and I submitted a few presentations, and they certified that let's say I comply with these standards. Then you submit an application through Microsoft, and I will share the links in the comments if anyone is interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, you must have one of the few certifications that Microsoft will take into account for your, let's say, application. For example, I have at that time MB800, Business Central
Yeah.
Functional Consultant, and that is one of the certifications that, together with that training certification they will get from third parties, allows you to sign up, and there's no fee to pay essentially. Once Microsoft
Okay.
gives you, yeah, the green light, you get access to so much content and training material, presentations, labs.
Wow.
It's wonderful. It's a sort of like being in a partner network, but as a trainer.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. I didn't know they gave all the materials and stuff like that for free, which is
Yeah.
really, really good. And I know
Yes.
you mentioned about the MB800, and as
Yeah.
a recruiter, I always come across like employers looking for specific certifications and stuff like that. From your perspective, as someone who is a trainer and has been a consultant and still is,
Yeah.
would you say certifications are important?
Now, this is a question that I get asked when I almost all the time. So it's a very
Oh,
good one,
really?
Lucy. It's the key, really. So certifications are important. Yes and no. So
Okay.
let's get the elephant. Let's take it. How do you say elephant in the room first,
Yeah,
right?
that's all right.
Right. So, my personal opinion, professional opinion, and as a consultant working with a Microsoft partner, a certification will typically not determine whether you can be hired or not. So if I am going to hire a consultant tomorrow, I will not look at whether there is a certification or not. So that is not really like being an architect, right? And you have to have a specific degree. That
Yeah,
doesn't work like that. However, if you can show to your future employer that you studied, that you spend the time to go through the material. Maybe you work with a trainer like me, or maybe you did self-training. Right? For most of the time, I just study alone. For example, I don't need, I don't often require help of a trainer. If you can show that you took the time, that you applied, let's say, a strategic approach to your learning, professional development, that is what's going to make a difference, right? Rather than just the college certification itself. So last month I ran a session for the MB800, and I had two students, right, two consultants working with me, and then I told them whether you want to give the exam or not is entirely up to you, but it's the learning experience and the knowledge that really matters.
I see. Yeah, no, I totally understand. I know that I speak to a few different consultants or whoever it may be within the IT space that have their own opinions for and against. And of course, it's nice to hear your insight on that anyway. Um, Now, obviously, you have come up with Viscontis. Is that how you pronounce
Yes,
it?
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I mean, what was the reason behind the name? That's a good question.
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked it. There is a long story, but I'm not going to tell you the full story because we might, spend like half a day here. So, Visconti is my mother's maiden name, and
Oh, okay.
so yes, and so my grandfather, who I mean was born in the 20s, it's got a long story. As a farmer in Italy, and of course he went through the fascism, and so growing up as a young boy, I didn't really get to spend too much time with him because it was this big, age gap essentially. The time was
Yeah.
really, quite significant. Imagine being born in the 1920s and having a grandson in the 80s, right? The difference is even, it was bigger. And so the moment I decided to set up a company for this training, I thought something that is related to me, to my family, and going with my name would have been the obvious reason, but something about my grandfather, who always tried to be an entrepreneur, and he was an entrepreneur because he used to farm in his own land in southern Italy, and of course after the war, he lost his properties and started working as a again also as a truck driver. And so this idea, all right, so it runs to the family essentially. And so this idea of creating like a company using my the mother's maiden name, which links to my maternal grandfather, as a sort of symbolic gestures to keep that the dream of entrepreneurship into the 21st century. And so I thought that was going to be nice, and so that's the reason behind the name.
That's such a good story. I like that. That is, yeah, very good. And I don't think many people would come up with a story like that for
Well,
the
thanks.
name. So I love that. And obviously with being a Microsoft trainer, what was it that drove you to want to be a trainer? Obviously, you've been a consultant all this time. What was that
Yes,
pivotal point, sorry, where you're like,
sure.
training's what I want to do?
It was mainly because as I worked on, I mean, during my work, I mean, in my work as a consultant, I often come across consultants and end users who um, who needed help with specific training. Now, as you might know, people know in my network, I mean, your network, we work with Microsoft applications, right? Microsoft website, many websites, right? Learn.microsoft.com is rich. It's so full of free stuff that you can about any business application. So it was a moment when I understood, look, there is so much free training online. Why is it the users and also some consultants often struggle, right, to get important concepts about business applications? And then I realized that I went through the same struggle myself as a new consultant, right? The website was there, I had my sandbox, yet I struggled to find how certain features or pages or actions, right, in the user interface um, should be used in a real business scenario. So you can learn everything about an application, but that doesn't really mean that you will learn that you need to use one page or another page to solve a business problem. Because
Yeah,
ultimately, business applications are about business, right? Business
yeah,
problems, not really about the application. There's a reason why in business application, business is the first word, right? Applications is more important. And so I thought, there is a need here. There is a need for me, and there is a need for other consultants, and there is a need for users. So I understood that we need to fill a gap here. There is a gap in the training, overall IT training. It's easy to learn about actions and pages and reports, right? And even technical about development, but it's very difficult to understand whether you should use development or not, yeah, to solve a business problem. And so I
yeah.
thought, let's do this. Let's put business into IT training. Let's put business back into business application and help users and consultant go through. These are the sales module of Business Central. This is what you can do in sales. When should you use it? Right? Business
Yeah.
case number one, right? We want to discount, we want to run a campaign, we want to fulfill, we want to use fulfill orders at a certain to solve specific again needs. So that was the main reason why I did it, and I started it last year, and I'm getting good feedback. I'm still, again, it's just one person doing it, in the evening and the weekend, but it's going very well, and hopefully this will be my full-time job very soon.
Oh, that, yeah. I mean, fingers crossed. And I think, yeah, you're putting a lot of time and effort into it all, and having a full-time job on top of it as well is
Yeah,
such a hard thing to balance. But
it is.
it's,
Yes.
yeah, it's really nice. And obviously, I think you kind of covered what we were going to say about in the sense of how you approach your delivery to training. And
Yeah.
I think it's a really nice outlook that you have, because it's like the whole holistic approach
Yeah.
of business applications instead of just the consultancy side of things as well. So I think that's really nice. And I mean, obviously, you're with educating others, you're bringing a lot into the community as well. And I think a lot of people do also feel as though they don't know where to go, or they don't know what's
Yeah.
best to do next, or
Yeah.
how do they get from point A to B. And I feel like this will
Yeah.
definitely help them. Do you feel like that you've sort of encountered any challenges with online training?
Any challenge with online training? Well, it's the typical challenge of online working. which is the ability to deliver and to engage with students, right, attendees, and to deliver the knowledge in a way, right? Yeah, it's knowledge essentially. Why using technology that will it allows you to talk right as we're talking now, but being in a room is different.
Yeah.
Being in a meeting room is definitely different, right? And so this is the challenge with online training. I understand the benefits. Of course, we all know about the benefits of remote working, but there is just an element about training because let me take a step back quickly. Training is often perceived as I get knowledge from an expert, right? I get this package, right, of knowledge. I take it away, and now that I got this new beautiful, thing, I can take it away, and now I'm better equipped, and I can do my job better. It doesn't really work like that, right?
Yeah.
And so knowledge can be transmitted in a number of ways. And if it's just knowledge you're after, I would advise don't spend money with people trainers like me or the companies because knowledge is free. If it's knowledge what you're after, go online and find free knowledge, consume knowledge, save your notes, and get knowledge. With training that is about business processes and business applications, we don't just try to share knowledge. We try to share wisdom, right? Which is the
Yeah.
ability to understand which piece of knowledge you need to apply to a specific problem solving framework, right?
Yeah.
And that is not something that you can just take away, right? It's something that requires a conversation, a typical, coaching and training, right? We all remember those good teachers at school, right? What
Yeah.
was the good teacher at school? The teacher can ask you a question. The teacher will spend 5 minutes with you and say, "Look, let me show you why you did it wrong, right? So next time, try to do this, right?" We don't remember the lessons. Nobody remember the lessons, right? But we all remember that 5 minutes with a teacher. So look at what you did here. It was wrong. This is why it was wrong. This is what you should do instead. And next time you do that, you will be all right. Right? It's that kind of transmission, a sharing of knowledge
Yeah.
and wisdom that stays. And of course, all number one is what I try to do, and this is what I believe all trainers should try to do. And number two, you understand well when it's remote or when it's online, it's not that easy, right, to do. And so that's the main challenge with online training, I would say.
Yeah, no, definitely. And do you feel like you'd ever potentially do in-person meetups as
Oh
you grow?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, 100%, absolutely. That's where I want to go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
First, it's just I believe there is great value, uh, and also I must tell you I quite enjoy doing it. Right. So the other day I was in Ireland for a business central implementation,
Yeah.
and it was in a meeting room with about 10 people, a colleague also as a consultant. The 8 hours in a meeting room was so much energy, right? So imagine running a Teams meeting for 8 hours with 12 people online. You will never be able to get anything done.
Yeah.
Right? and
Yeah.
and
True.
so yeah, absolutely, it's impossible, right? So the energy in the room, the presence, right? And so the ability to walk over somebody's laptop and say, show me, what did you do? Oh, you click here, look, this is why you shouldn't have clicked there, click there instead. I'm really looking forward to I get to let's say on meeting in person. I'm based in London, so I will probably organize something very soon.
That will be good. You have to, yeah, have to let us know, and we'll definitely
Sure,
advertise that for you for
of
sure.
course.
I think I think the main challenge, I don't know whether you have any advice, but obviously I would say just from a consultant's perspective, I have seen a big shift last year in the market, and a lot of the roles coming in were for those mid to senior levels. Everyone wanted people to come and hit the ground running and everything like that. So what would your advice be to more of the junior or entry level or newbies into tech? What would your advice be to them?
My advice for a junior consultant: a couple of things. Try to get as much diverse experience as you possibly can, which means um, you you want to work on finance projects, on supply chain projects, right? On practice manager projects. Try to get this diverse opportunity. Opportunity to get diverse, experience if you can. So, for example, I would advise a junior consultant, if you have a couple of options, and join one partner, for example, Microsoft partner, instead of, and also an opportunity, for example, to work for an end user. At the beginning of your career, you should try to join a user. Sorry, you should not try to join a user, because you end up doing pretty much, working in one industry, the same people, the same
Yeah.
processes. So the fastest way to get experience fast is to work with different projects. So join a partner. So
Yeah.
3 months financial implementation, then 2 years you shadow a senior consultant on the project, and sometimes you can run these 2 or 3 different projects in parallel, and so you gain experience very fast. The second thing that I will say, junior consultant trying to get better at, for example, Business Center or other applications, try to expand your knowledge in a way which is, I would say, that allow you to link existing knowledge to something else. So, for example, so let's say that you are an expert in finance. You maybe you got a background in accounting, finance and accounting, and you want to be Business Central consultants. Finance and accounting is your realm, right? Okay. So in finance, the issues about inventory reconciliation, inventory valuation, right, costing method is something that, of course, is finance. But everything that happens so that your balance sheet and your inventory, right, gets, goes up and down, and it's something that is not really common knowledge, right? It's specific inventory management. Now, if you can choose the next thing to learn, if you're a finance consultant, trying to learn inventory management first, because there you'll have the ability to see that what happens in an inventory, in a warehouse, for example, how that affects your things that you already know, right? So
Yeah.
inventory reconciliation, balance sheet, as opposed to start learning. I understand finance, but then I want to learn the marketing module. So marketing doesn't really hit finance until the prospect and the lead becomes a client, right? And so
Yeah.
instead of looking at marketing, maybe learn sales, because sales will affect our revenues, right? So this kind of knowledge plan, where you can, the next thing you learn should be directly linked to the things that you already know, as
Yeah.
opposed to going through again from finance to vendor management, or manufacturing, which can be quite extensive, right? You can get to manufacturing after you have a good knowledge of inventory management, because that would be a small step, right? Instead of jumping from
Instead
finance
of
and accounting
large.
only straight into manufacturing. It means that almost everything you need to learn, it's new to you, and that is something
Yeah.
that it will give you, right, will be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just being able to relate and use your knowledge that you already know. As they
Yeah.
say, power is knowledge. No, knowledge. Power is knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Right.
And obviously, like being able to use knowledge that you already know is going to
Yes.
help you massively, instead of, as you said, making those huge jumps. So
Yes.
I think, yeah, I think that's really, really useful information. And I guess one last thing to sort of tie things off
Yes.
is you've been in the IT industry, specifically Dynamics, for, as you said, around 10 years.
Yes.
Where do you think the future of it's going?
In my opinion, the future is going towards a technology that is designed to be to help essentially the user, and in a way that will make technical teams, and I know all my ex-colleagues who are developers or technical architects will probably be get very upset with me now, but this is my opinion. I see where it's going. Technologists, pure technologists, will become less and less relevant in the business application space. So
Okay.
the way I see Microsoft going, for example, and I'm in touch with the Business Central product team, here on on social media, and every new release in Business Central, it's better and better in terms of user interface, usability. So we will get in a position where Microsoft, as this giant business application company, will make it, will empower business users, accountants, people in sales and procurement, right? I said I got a comment here, which is nice, yeah? Microsoft will empower users more and more, which means less need for bespoke development, less need to customization. And for example, customization will slowly become something that happens only for bespoke apps, and you will have more personalization and less customization, right? More low
Ah,
code and no code, right? And
yeah,
so I
that's
believe
true.
that if you are a developer, try to learn again, low code and no code applications. If you're a business user, try to get an understanding of technology, but I wouldn't invest in development unless of course you want to go down application design and web design, but that also maybe artificial intelligence will probably change things. So I believe we're seeing a shift where developing companies like not just Microsoft, Oracle is doing pretty much the same thing, right? Technology that is more usable, right? Business users are empowered and they own the technology. And so through personalization and no code and interoperability, for example, now you can get a Power BI plugged into Business Central. 10 years ago, you needed to be a data scientist to put together, right, a Power BI, difficult word
Yeah.
for it. So 10 years ago, you needed to be really like an engineer to put together a dashboard. Now you can get a Power BI license, 2 clicks connected to Business Central, and you can have that dashboard for sales already prepared for you. Now, that might not be what you want from day one, but it's far from being something that requires 1 month of development, right? So, and it's going to go in that direction, I believe.
Interesting. I mean, I definitely agree with a fair few things there. I know there's one comment that kind of counters it a little bit, just saying that they don't fully agree with the less need of technical people. They believe that ISV/vertical solutions built on top for BC will always require a very skilled BC developer.
Okay.
Do you, so yeah, I mean, everyone's going to have their own opinions. Obviously,
Of
this is
course.
very subjective.
Of
I
course.
must see, I've definitely seen a big shift with a lot of low code, no code. I've definitely seen a shift with that. So
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you there. Now I don't know whether anyone has any questions whilst we're on here before we wrap up. Um, but I mean, Alfredo, I think it's such a great thing that you're doing for the community and being able to put your own training platform together. If you guys don't follow Alfredo, he puts very useful videos and tutorials and stuff on his LinkedIn page. So if you are within the same area or within Microsoft Dynamics, please drop him a follow because his videos are very good, I must admit. Do you remember one of the first times we spoke and I was asking you for advice on videos and how
Yes.
the best way to do it?
Exactly.
And now look,
And then we've come
we're
a
on a
long way. Look at
podcast.
that. You were right completely. Exactly. And again, not
Absolutely.
that you probably didn't need a developer to do that.
Yeah.
Eh?
True. There we go. There we go. I'm sure we could debate all
Yes.
day with his opinions about that.
Yes.
But I think it's a very exciting time. As you said, there's a lot of developments and stuff going on within Microsoft as well as other technologies like Oracle. So I feel like we will see a bit of a shift over the next few years. But it's exciting, and I think one advice I would also give to those who are wanting to develop within Microsoft or Dynamics specifically is do attend events.
Yeah.
Alfredo, definitely, I know you're probably a big advocate for
Yeah.
going to different events or meetups or
Definitely.
whatever it may be, because there's so many advancements. I can't talk today, it's really a struggle. But so many advancements going on now. Sahil, let's read that because it's disappeared off the screen, but Sahil
Yeah.
has said, if you look at the feature for document analysis at purchase level coming in April, that itself is seemingly the first step in what might be a Continua competitor native in BC using
Yes.
Copilot.
Yeah.
I think Alfredo is talking about this in terms of technologists being
Yeah.
less engaged outside of Microsoft
Yeah.
directly. Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. That's exactly my point. That's exactly what you can see that that's a very good example.
There we go.
So Microsoft is going towards that. It's going to make again the application more usable. so to the point where it requires less technology. Absolutely, yes, technologists.
I like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And another LinkedIn user, Alfredo, has asked whether you have any plans for writing books on the functional aspect of BC. Ooh.
Wow, that's such a coincidence. I mean, I wouldn't say I don't know if it's a coincidence or a good coincidence, or it was planned. But I will be working with a reputable publishing company that is the leader about with again technical books, and most books about business applications are published by this company. We're still finalizing the details, but yes, I will be authoring a book about Business Central functional those aspects with these publishing companies, and it's a new project.
Oh,
We were
wow.
going to put down the details between today and tomorrow, and yes, so
God, that
yes,
was a
there
bit
is a
of a
plan.
coincidence.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Wow, good luck with that. I mean,
thanks.
you've definitely you keep a lot of things going at once, don't you? I don't know how you do
I
it.
try to do
It's
that.
very
Yeah,
admirable. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
thanks.
And as I said, guys, if you want to keep up with what Alfredo's doing, whether you want any updates on his new book writing, or even just any questions about his training platform or anything, please drop him a follow or a message. Very good profile to follow, I must admit. I love seeing your updates, and
Thank you.
yeah, it's a good profile to follow if you're within the dynamics industry. So, Alfredo, I just want to thank you for coming on today. I think technically this was a very good insight into yourself and your views in the industry as someone who's very well embedded within it. And also, if you are interested in learning more about his training platform, which I think is such a great idea, obviously you're happy to take messages, I
Of
assume.
course.
Of course.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, for today, I don't think there's any other comments or questions coming in. If you
All
do,
right.
we can answer them after the podcast in the
Of course.
comments. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, Alfredo. It's been lovely. We do apologize about the slight echo and the technical issues today. There's always
Yeah.
issues that go on when
Mainly
you're
my
live.
fault.
But yeah,
Mainly due
that's
to
all
me.
right. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for joining.
Likewise, Lucy. Thanks for inviting me, and it was great talking to you.
And you. See you
Have a
later,
good day.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.